Hi and welcome to Axtreme-Guitar. For this video I'm going to be going over the Louis Armstrong song, What a Wonderful World. And it's an awesome song to play around with. It's definitely going to be a bit more on the intermediate side for chord usage, but that's what I like about it. I don't want to go simple on it. I want it to sound as close to what's being played in the song. So if we were to start out right from the top, we're dealing with an F to a G minor 7. Now you may want to arpeggiate it, and I leave that open to you however way you want to do it. I might go with a so what I'm doing is kind of picking the top three and then coming upward from the bottom 3 strings. So you could try it that way. You could go just the traditional arpeggiation of all the way up and then all the way back down the scale of the chord. I leave that up to you. And so we have, in the beginning, it's F to G minor 7, back to F, then G minor 7. And from there we're back on F again. And this is what I like to do. You may do something completely different, but I like the way I do it this way because tonally I prefer the way that it sounds on my guitar. You can choose multiple options for a lot of these things depending on the movement of the song that makes most sense for your style of playing or for your hand. And sometimes in some cases, because this is bar chord heavy, it may just be easier to switch to an open chord instead of the bar chord just to give your hand a little bit of a break. So the first verse and every verse follows in this way. So we have F, and then I go to A minor here, and then I go B flat, back down to A minor, then G minor 7 again. Now you can either go back to the F here, or you can do it in a C pattern. I kind of waver between the two. I would sometimes go here, but then I like to jump to the A7 here, even though I could do it here. I go, why would I jump there? Because right from there I can go to D minor. Now I could do A7 to a D minor right here, but then I need to be able to go to a D flat. So I like to, as I said before, go from the F to the A7, then D minor, then D flat. And you notice that my arpeggiation has switched a little bit. I'm just going from the root note D flat, and I'm following it down to the B string and back up again. Then I go back to G minor 7. Then I use C7. I do prefer the sound of this C7, however, because of how quickly I'm changing to the different chords, it's tough. I mean, I could train my hand to be able to make it, but I don't want it to sound forced. So I'm going from G minor 7, G minor 7, C7, F. Now here is where it gets a little bit interesting. I was not familiar with this chord B7, 5. So this B7, 5 is a bar chord on the 2nd fret. You don't necessarily have to make a bar chord. You could do it like this, but it is a lot easier to just bar it. And then I place my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the D, and on the 4th fret of the B, I use my pinky. You could use a ring finger if you're comfortable with that. But pinky is nice for me because from here I'm going B7, 5, and then I go to B flat, and I'm playing a major 7th chord. And then I slide right back into the C7, and it's very convenient because from this major 7 to this 7th chord, love the way that sounds, that major 7. But when I go from the major 7, I have my middle down, and And then I slide down, still the same shape, but I'm removing my middle to get that C7. Then we just start the verse all over again, same chords. And so we don't have to reinvent the wheel and do that all over again, but I will recap what I just did because I know I went through that kind of fast. So we had F for the intro, G minor 7, F, and G minor 7, F. Now we go to the A minor, B flat, back to A minor, then G minor 7, and then you can go here to the F, or you can go in a C bar for the F. Then you go A7, then D minor, then we go D flat, G minor 7, C7, F, then B7, 5, then B flat major 7. It's hard to mention the chords while I'm playing them. And then we go to C7 on the 3rd fret. So we would repeat that for the next verse. And then when we end the next verse, so verse 2 does not end the same as verse 1 because we're leading into this, maybe you could call it a bridge. So after the D flat, so in this case, instead of going at the end of that line from the F to a B7, 5, I'm going to a G minor. And I sit on that G minor just a little bit longer. And then I go back to the F. Now, for the bridge section, we're going to go back to the G minor, the colors of the rainbow. And we go to the C7. And then you go F. And what I tend to like to do is F, but I'm hearing a D minor 7. So you could do a F in this way, where it's the half of the bar chord. And then we start it over again, G minor, then C7, then F. Now here is where I would switch, so from the F to the D minor 7, I would switch to a D minor bar over here because the next chord is a C/E. So after that D minor, I'm taking my other fingers off and I'm just going to put my ring finger on the 7th fret of the A and bar the rest of the 5th fret. I personally do not play the bottom E strings, so and then we go back to D minor to, I like to go back to the C/E, then D minor again, and next we have an F sharp diminished 7th is what I play. So this is an interesting chord. It's kind of like if you bar it like this. I tend to just play it this way instead of actually barring it, but you can bar it to make it simpler. And it's kind of like playing a B7 and adding a C on that A string there, 3rd fret. And you're not going to play either of the E strings, top or bottom. Then you go to G minor 7 to a C7. And from there we return to the verse chords, which are exactly the same, but again, there is one difference. So I'll walk through it since the differences happen halfway through because it has that little bit of a turnaround. So again, that was the F, A minor, B flat, A minor, G minor 7 to F, then we go A7 to a D minor, D flat, G minor 7 to a C7. Now here, I would recommend going to the bar C of the F, just because from there we're going to go to E flat 9. So with that one there, it looks kind of daunting, if you've never played it before. Some of you may prefer to play this E flat 9 with 4 fingers. So you're not playing either of the E strings, top or bottom, but you could play with your pinky and ring on the 6th frets of the B and the G, and then middle finger on the 6th fret of the A, and then pointer finger on the 5th fret of the D. So you have, and he just arpeggiates through this, whoever's playing the guitar in this is arpeggiating through it, and then they go down 1 half step to the D9. So we have G minor 7. Now we have C7 flat 9. That's a nice sounding chord, but it looks a lot like the way diminished chords would look if you were playing them in a different spot. So how do we play this one? So we have our ring finger, at least how I'm playing it. You could do it this way. So this is one way to do it, where you can bar across the 2nd fret, and I'm not playing top or bottom E strings, but if I barred across the 2nd fret, then I put my middle finger on the C and my ring finger, well, the C is the 3rd fret of the A, by the way, and then my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the G. One of the other ways that I was doing it was this way, which is probably just harder to do it, because this way is easier to get to fast. However, you have the G minor 7 again, just to recap, and then C7 flat 9, then the last line, F. Now it doesn't just end there. It is, of course, the end of what the guitars are doing, but if you're the only guitar playing, you could go to a B flat 6, which is essentially just barring both the top and the bottom. So my ring finger is on the 4 strings here across the 3rd fret, and then I'm just getting that root note, B flat. I don't play it with my middle buried like that, but just so that you can see. And then I go back to F. That's the ooh yeah part there. So it is a big one to try to play if you've never played all the different chords that are going on in this song like I just did. But it is definitely fun to play, and it's a challenge. It's something to really work with, because you're arpeggiating too, which is not a very forgiving technique of playing through chords. You can run into a lot of dead notes or partially dead notes that you don't want, but it's worth playing around with if you like the song. Some people even adapt it, like the Ramones, I believe they adapted a power chord version of it, which is cool, but really I like the way that the chords sound, and it opened me up to styles of chords that I've not really used. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.